In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Before I introduce our guest, I'd like to do a Black history reflection of Thurgood Marshall. Mr. Civil Rights, the legacy architect of equality. Born Thurgood Marshall on July 2nd, 1908, in Baltimore, Maryland, Thurgood Marshall rose from humble beginnings to become the most consequential civil rights lawyer in American history and ultimately the first African-American justice of the United States Supreme Court. Raised in a household where his father instilled in him a love for the U.S. Constitution and value of debate, Marshall was denied admission to the University of Maryland Law School because of his race. Rather than retreat, he enrolled at Howard University School of Law, where he graduated valedictorian and came under the mentorship of the legendary Charles Hamilton Houston, who taught him to use the law as a weapon for justice. Marshall joined the NAACP in 1936, and over the next 2 decades, he transformed the American legal landscape. As lead counsel of the NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund, he argued 32 cases before the United States Supreme Court and won 29 of them. His greatest victory came on May 17, 1954, when the Supreme Court ruled unanimously in Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional, and a decision that shattered the separate but equal doctrine established by Plessy v. Ferguson in 1896. His legal victories did not stop there. Marshall also won pivotal cases in Smith v. Allwright in 1944, Shelley v. Kramer in 1948, and Sweat v. Painter in 1950, each dismantling another pillar of systemic racial oppression. President Lyndon B. Johnson appointed Marshall Solicitor General in 1965, the highest-ranking Black official in U.S. government at that time, and then nominated him to the Supreme Court in 1967. The Senate confirmed him 69-11, and he served for 24 years. On the Supreme Court, Marshall was a fierce defender of individual rights, abortion rights, First Amendment freedoms, and an unyielding opponent of the death penalty, dissenting in over 1,400 cases where the court refused to review a death sentence. He is known as the great dissenter for standing firm in his convictions, even as the court shifted towards conservatism. He retired in 1991 and died on January 24th, 1993, at the age of 84, buried with full honors at Arlington National Cemetery. So tonight's show carries forward Thurgood Marshall's mission. He fought for equal access in classrooms. Our guest tonight, Rodrick C. Johnson, is doing the same work from the inside. Marshall used the courts to open the schoolhouse doors. Rodrick uses coaching to transform what happens inside them. The struggle is generation. The mission is unchanged. Thurgood Marshall believed that education was the gateway to equality, and tonight's guest has dedicated his entire career to making the gateway a reality for every child in America. So now let me introduce our guest as that set in, because this show has got real meaning. And I just wanted to start out with this point, as well as now when I introduce our guest, you'll know exactly who he is. Good evening, and welcome to America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and tonight we're coming to you live with season 4, episode 127. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the family. If you've been riding with us since the beginning, you already know this is not just a show, this is a movement. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that sits at the very foundation of this country's promise, which is education. We're going to talk about what it means to walk into a school and actually believe that every child in front of you can be great. We're going to talk about what it takes to coach teachers, to breathe life into classrooms, to create environments where Black and brown children not only survive, but thrive. Now, I want to ask you something before we get started. Think back to one teacher, one coach, one mentor, one person in that building, in that classroom, who saw something in you when maybe you didn't see it in yourself. Maybe it was the way they spoke to you. Maybe it was the way they refused to give up on you. Maybe it was just energy they brought into the room every single day. That is what tonight is about. My guest this evening has spent over a decade on the front lines of public education. He is a literacy coach, a professional development facilitator, a Great Minds Fellow, and the founder of a revolutionary coaching method that is literally transforming how schools handle behavior, culture, and student outcomes. He has crisscrossed this nation, school by school, district by district, teaching educators how to do what they were called to do. And in 2021, he took everything he had learned and built something of his own. His name is Rodrick C. Johnson. He is the founder and CEO of Energized Educator. And tonight, he is bringing all of that energy right here in America in Black and White. Ladies and gentlemen, get comfortable, pour something, grab somebody, because this conversation is about to be fire. This is season 4, episode 127 of America in Black and White. I am Charles Zachary King. Let's go and let's bring in Mr. Rodrick C. Johnson to the show. Hello, sir. We can't hear you. No, sir. Now I can.
What about now?
Yes.
All right.
I can hear you.
Hey, welcome. Sorry about a tech glitch. You know, you're not a teacher till you have a tech glitch. I swear. It's a rite of passage. But I just want to before we start episode 127.
127 of this season.
My goodness. I mean, I just want to give a hand clap to you. Like, that is remarkable. I mean, a lot of people can't get past 20, and you got 127. So I just wanted to give you that joy before we got started, because I know we're going to talk about me, but I just wanted to give you your flowers as another Black man, because it's really important that you get them.
Well, I appreciate that. And is there something you'd like to say to our audience before we get into the show?
Yes. Hey, audience. Welcome. My name is Rodrick Johnson. Also, this is the 5th year of the Energized Educator. So I'm so happy to be able to instill this message into people. It's really about transferring energy and making sure that all of our students understand what we have to give them and give them our best. So welcome. Sit back, relax. I got my water. If you got something different, that's your business. But let's get into this episode because I'm ready to talk.
Well, I appreciate you, like I appreciate each and every individual that's out watching the show tonight. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And for those of you that are always here every day, I appreciate you. For the new people, I really appreciate you. And I want you guys to make sure you enjoy this show. Roderick, let's start with, again, I want to reintroduce you to the audience.
Okay.
And if you could just take us back to the beginning, where did you grow up and what was your early relationship with education?
Good question. So I grew up in the west side of Baltimore. Yes, Baltimore. That's what we say. I grew up in the west side. I grew up in a Title I school, experiencing all the Title I things where people feel like they have to give you handouts because they don't know your circumstances. They don't know how you navigate. And I grew up around a lot of negativity. But they used to call me sunshine because I was always that ray of sunshine in the midst of that adversity. And I knew at some point I was going to be able to get out of my adverse childhood experiences. So my first experiences with education were kind of rocky because I was in foster care and I didn't know my name until a couple years, going through the system. I got one name in the system and I got another name. So as a 6-year-old, navigating all of those challenges was very heavy. And so I acted out and I did all the things that we label bad kids doing. And they gave me ADHD. They gave me all of these things. And what they didn't give me is what I learned at 34 is that I was gifted. And so no one actually pushed to see if I was gifted because one thing they couldn't say is I didn't complete my task. Now, I might have rolled down the aisles during a play, right? Or I may have been talkative. Or I may have jumped and screamed and did things that I wasn't supposed to do. But at the end of the day, I was gifted and I needed more. And I needed to understand who I was, which is why I do this for children, because I understand them and they understand me. And so that is my beginning of education. I didn't get it right till 6th grade, but I eventually got it right. And now I'm a doctoral student. So I did something right.
Okay. Was there a specific teacher or member in your life, a mentor in your life, who made you believe that you could do something great?
Yeah, it really, middle school was a really big turning point for me. I would just like to thank all my middle school teachers. They really poured into me. And I know there's more, and I know I forget you, but it's okay. I love you all. But I've always been around other mothers. And so there were always women in my life that stepped up to kind of do some things that my mother didn't know to do because there was a point of life where we didn't understand each other. And so when you spend so much time in school, you develop some sort of relationship with the women teachers there, and they start to see and fill spots. And I think that's part of the village that we always talk about. Like my mother didn't have to do it alone. She was a single mother raising a child that was like, woo. And so I had some other mothers to kind of help navigate my path, specifically between middle school and high school, to make sure that I went and did what I was supposed to do to be able to get into college. And then later on throughout high school, I started to get men in my life that started to guide me and mold me and say what manhood should look like and what I should actually look like when I go into college, which kept me sustained and moving on to where I needed to go.
So, as you learned and you got this experience as you were growing up and the people that surrounded you, how do you take those things to this point right now, and how do you put that around the students that you work with?
Yeah, so I really created my methods based on what I went through. And so I used my story to navigate change and navigate support for me. So I knew I was going to be a teacher. I've always knew I was going to be a teacher. I played teacher. I tutored people in the neighborhood. I always knew I was going to be a teacher. But one thing they don't tell you in an urban system is that sometimes what you learn in school is not what you actually do in the classroom. And that sort of indoctrination kind of changes your mind. So once upon a time, I was a teacher who didn't ask questions. I was a teacher who didn't care about what students were doing because I was so militant. I was a teacher who did not dig deeper into concepts. I was, participating in the banking system of education where I'm just depositing information in the students' minds. And it wasn't until I realized that that wasn't effective that I changed. So part of the methods that I created 2 frameworks. One teach framework that I'll talk about later, but the biggest one is the 3R framework, which is respect, reflect, and reengage. And the reason why we have those things is because the most foundational skills that we think about in the world should be communicated to children. And so respect comes for everybody. That's a given. Everybody should get respect. Everybody's entitled to respect. When you walk into a building, you should be respected. I told you I grew up in Title One, and so Title One is like, oh well, they're getting it for free. So sometimes we want to be a little disrespectful and use microaggressions to kind of talk to them. But respect means knowing how you show up, knowing where you show up, knowing that you're not the superhero of the situation, and also that that is a child that you're talking to, and that's not your child. You're performing a service. Reflection makes them directly understand and unpack what happens, because you're going to have adverse challenges in the classroom. You're going to. It's a lot of people in one space. And so we need to understand that when you have those adverse challenges, that you need to unpack what that looks like in your mind. I do that with some of my friends and they hate it. But really unpack, okay, what happened? What would it look like if you did that somewhere else? What would it look like if somebody did that to you? What would it look like if this happened on a massive scale? What would it look like if I was the adult and I did that to you? Really having students to really understand what harm looks like and what that feels like. And then re-engaging them. It should be ritualistic, right? I'm bringing you back into the environment because at some point I had to remove you so that you can reflect. But we want you to come back. The whole thing is for you to come back. And so it should almost be like a ritual, and not necessarily lighting candles and singing Kumbaya, but some sort of ritual that brings you back into the environment for you to know that you belong here, but sometimes you have to exit to get yourself together.
So when did you first realize that teaching wasn't just a career, it was your calling?
I realized that I will never forget, it was the first year of school. Not the first year of school, the first day of school. I can't remember the year, but I remember when I had a class and I had the quote unquote good class. And my principal was like, no, that's not your ministry. And she literally got every student that was not quote unquote good and put them in my room and was like, I know that you can do it. I need you to do that. And I need these children to talk to you because you represent them. And so that year I actually had a class of more boys than girls. And so I had about, I say 29, I could be wrong, but I had 29 boys and maybe a couple girls. But the way that ministry works, it works where you can actually impact them and help them understand, like, yes, you are a boy, and yes, you are showing some adverse behaviors, but that does not mean you're wrong. That means that you have to understand what it looks like to challenge the system and actually sometimes do the things within the system and then go and do your own thing. And so teaching them that actually allows some of them to actually be open. Like some of them were upset with their parents because their parents would say, oh, I taught you how to read. And they're like, no. Mr. Johnson taught me how to read, right? And some came to school and said, well, I got to go to school and work all day, and my mother gets to go sit behind a desk all day. Like those things are real, right? Like you don't expect children to say it, but these are the things that students were able to say. So they're conceptualizing education into something that's massive. And for little boys that age at 6, that is a turning point. And I can say that I did that. And I don't know where they are, but I know they're better off for it.
So what was it about the classroom that pulled you in? And was it the students, the content, or something else entirely?
It's always the students. It's never the adults. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's never the adults. I think the students, seeing a little me on the other side is very important to me. And also being able to navigate their future the way somebody helped navigate me. I think it's really something that you cannot beg for. I think everybody should do it. I think everybody should be a teacher. And then not to get spiritual, but I feel like Jesus is the best teacher. And so I modeled a lot of the way that I think and act around how he thought and act around how he taught his lessons. Everybody's not going to get your lessons. Everybody's not going to speak the language. Everybody's not going to speak the way that you want them to speak or do the things you want them to do, but you teach them anyway. And so when I was younger, that's what I learned in Sunday school. The church really got me to be a teacher. And so I learned that. And now that I understand it, I do it every day, and I coach teachers now to do some of those same things. Everybody's not a Christian, so I don't want to say that I make them like Jesus, but I give them some of those attributes for them to feel better about what they do in the classrooms.
I understand. I'm sure that those teachers that you actually come across, that you're actually training and working with, that they appreciate the value in which you've just instilled in them, because I think that when it comes to the educational system, I think all of the educators are supposed to be about the students. And I think a lot of them are not. So, what are some of the things that some of these teachers say to you about this learning process and how appreciative they are?
Um, I think they appreciate that I get very granular with them. And I also think that they don't appreciate that as well. Because it's like when you see yourself in the mirror, sometimes you don't like the reflection. And I'm never scared to approach a teacher and say, hey, I don't think that choice was right for that student. I think it was right for you. And I'm not interested in teachers always being comfortable because sometimes children stretch us. Children want us to move this way and that way. And sometimes we're not ready to bend. But those teachers that are ready to bend and those that move really appreciate the gut check because that's really what it is. There's a difference between delivering curriculum, which is content that moves from page to a student, to actually teaching curriculum, which content meets student experiences. So once you navigate both those things, you understand what it looks like and sounds like, you start to have a deeper appreciation for it. But no one likes to be checked. I want to be clear. No one likes to be checked. Right? I know football players that have a coach. They don't want to be checked. But at the end of the year, when a teacher says, wait a minute, this is the best year of my teaching career, and you say, it wasn't me, it was you. I just helped you get there. That's the best feeling you can ever have.
Wow. You worked in Baltimore City schools, one of the most complex urban school systems in America.
Yes.
What did that environment teach you?
I love Baltimore City Public Schools. You will never hear me not love Baltimore City Public Schools. But Baltimore City Public Schools is a business. It's a revolving door, and it's a business to support children. Lots of interventions, lots of supports, lots of unpacking. But it's a top-down system that sometimes get lost in the sauce, but it's all for the students. Everything that we do is for the students, but we are experiencing some situations in Baltimore City Public Schools where our children are needing more support. We are doing the best that we can for our students, but they need a lot of wraparound supports. And I think that top-down approach helps with that and helps us support our students. But I will tell you that our students are growing. We had the highest MCAT passes last year that we had in a while. We have a lot of students that are reading on or above grade level, and that's all thanks to instructional coaches. I'm not the only instructional coach. Now, I am the only Black male instructional coach in the reading coach in the district. Just want to pause for that. But I am not alone. And so the work we started 5 years ago as coaches is actually starting to make way. And we're making some significant change in Baltimore City Public Schools. So don't believe the hype. We are moving in Baltimore City Public Schools, and we will keep moving and doing what's best for our children.
I was going to say this for later, but I'm going to ask this now because that's a very interesting point that you brought up. I know that Baltimore City schools the city of Baltimore itself was one of those places that actually was one of the first, I think, in the country that actually tore down their system and they totally rebuilt it, revamped it, and so forth.
Yes.
And it was my understanding from the reading and statistics that I kept up with that showed that the school district had did a complete turnaround. So can you tell us, with that being done, how much did that contribute to the success that you mentioned now? But why was that needed so much?
Because our old systems don't help. Old systems don't change. And so one of the big things is that we have more coaches to guide teachers and support teachers. And we know we need it because our teachers are coming from everywhere. Let's be clear. Somebody could be working at a coffee shop tomorrow and be a teacher next week. It happens because we have these programs that allow it to happen, right? And in some ways they're good, in some ways they're bad. And this is why I say it. So, for example, everybody does not need to be a teacher. I'm sorry. It's just a harsh reality. But neoliberalism says that I can fast track you through, make money off fast tracking you through, and next thing you know, you're a teacher. And so one of the things I think about is how beneficial it is for a person to come with another experience and come and teach children. But on the opposite end, I think how important it is for people to know pedagogy and understand how children think and act and react. And so when you come into a system, an urban system where our children are so delicate and in need of support, what does that look like when you don't have the mechanisms to support them? And all teachers are not the same, but some of them do not come in to teach our children. They come in to save our children. And just a quick statistic, only 6% of teachers are Black. So who are coming to teach our urban Black children in the city? And I'll leave that there.
Oh, wow. That's very, very interesting.
And that's the nation. 6% of teachers in the nation are Black.
Yeah, you know.
So who's coming?
Oh, see. Oh, but you know, that's a whole new show.
I mean,
that's actually coming because, you know, that's a real serious thing that what you just mentioned. Were there moments early in your career when you wanted to walk away? What kept you in the building?
Adults made me walk away, but children made me stay. And so there is a je ne sais quoi to teaching, but then there's a rubric that says you're effective, right? And so I moved to the je ne sais quoi, the nuances, the understandings, the unpacking, the meeting making for our students, the success equals thinking, the Socratic seminars, the resource for access, the teacher as a designer and a connector. And sometimes the Davidson framework, which is a business model, by the way, does not. Right? It says you're effective if you do A, B, C. And to me, that's not teaching. And so I felt like I was being put in a box because I was like not hitting the marks. And then I had to realize like I'm the mark. Sorry. I'm the mark. I'm not worried about that coin collection sheet is what I call it. I'm the mark. Now, don't get me wrong. I got my effective ratings. Don't get me wrong. I am an effective educator and I got my marks. But sometimes people hold that observation that's twice a year as you are a good or bad teacher. And I had to realize like that's just for compliance, right? I was a teacher that didn't do the things, and now I'm a teacher that helps people do the things. That says something. And then also, we adopted a new curriculum, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, what is happening? But instead of crying about it, I just worked for the curriculum company. Right? Things like that makes you say, wait, I need to stay in education because I need to teach children how to do this. Because we are in a complaining society. We are in the anxious generation. And they are going to complain, but you as a teacher have to stand in front of them and say, okay, don't complain, baby. Just go work for them. It's okay. It's all right. Go fill the gap, right? There's no such thing as an achievement gap. We got educational debt out here. We don't have achievement gaps because if we have achievement gaps, who's going to fill it and who makes the gap and who is the marker for achievement?
You're exactly right.
So that's what made me stay, because at the end of the day, if I leave, I'm leaving them. I ain't worried about the adults. I'm worried about the children. I'm leaving because I promised my first class that I would get a doctorate in education. That's exactly what I'm doing. I promised them that I'll be a teacher till they graduate college, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So if I let some adult knock me off my path, then what am I saying to those children?
Exactly. Oh, wow. That's powerful there. How did your upbringing shape the way you see students, especially Black and brown students?
Well, I had a very different upbringing. It was a lot of doors, a lot of windows, a lot of this and a lot of that. That would take 2 hours for me to unpack. But what I will say is that my life was not a crystal stair. You know, I had tax Senate boards all torn up bare, right? We know the whole story. Everybody goes through it. You know, I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, all of those things. I had it all, right? But the biggest part of me was that I was determined to do something with what I had. And no matter me living in the projects, no matter me living with no lights, no matter if I got to wash my uniform at night, no matter if I got to figure out where my food was coming from, I was going to get somewhere and change my narrative. So my upbringing was very much, yes, you have adverse childhood effects. Yes, things happen to you. Yes, you might have been abused. Yes, you might not have had what you want. But at the end of the day, you got to keep on living. And that's what people around me say, you got to keep on living. Because at the end of the day, one day, life will change for you. And my life has changed tenfold since then. But you got to see it through.
Yeah. You eventually transitioned from teacher to coach.
Yes.
Was that a difficult identity shift to make?
Yes and no. This is so funny. So my first school that I coached at, because once I became a literacy coach, I transferred schools. So that was good. I didn't do it at the same school. That was perfect. And so when I came to this school, I was a part of an administrative team, but we were all new to our jobs. New principal, new math coach, new literacy coach, new vice principal. So we were all like green as the grass and trying to figure out what was happening. So I think the identity shift happened with me trying to keep up with all of us learning at one time, but I'm still going to do my ministry. And so there was a lot of bumping heads, but it was bumping heads because I think the communication as to what I'm here to offer and what I actually did was different. I can't take away what anybody else's experience was, but I came to minister. And sometimes that ministry got me in trouble. I'm not going to get me wrong. Sometimes I had to side with the teachers because that's my job. As a coach, this is my team. Right? This is the Baltimore Ravens. I am the coach. I got to side with them. And sometimes that was the identity piece that got me in trouble. Now, the teachers, they did whatever I asked them to do. I did whatever they asked them to do. It was a reciprocal process. But I don't think anybody had ever talked to them the way I talked to them and really humanized them the way I humanized them. So that was the identity shift, not only with me, not only with admin, but also with the teachers. And some of them, or most of them, I still talk to today. And they might call me and say, hey, Rod, what to do for this lesson? And I'm like, oh, just do this. And I'm like, yeah, I knew you would know it. Right. And so those are the things that help. But I was always a coach, even in the classroom, because I coach students. I didn't deposit information. I don't like the banking system. I literally coach students to their own enlightenment.
I think that's a really good process. And, I think once you get them, let me just ask you this.
Okay.
When you say this is what you did for them, was the coaching process one to have them to critically think the situation out themselves and, they asked the question, but they got the answer without you having to do anything, right?
So a lot of my coaching is asking more questions to understand and also practicing and rehearsing, right? The best thing we can do for children is practice and rehearsing before we give it to them. Because sometimes teachers, y'all know, and if y'all don't hear, y'all know, sometimes we look at that script and be like, huh? What? Like, and it is what it is. That's not saying we are illiterate or we are less than. It's just sometimes we just don't know. Because these people that set up in the Oval Office created this stuff. I'm sorry, not Oval Office. Woo. Sorry, y'all. I didn't know y'all was going to get all this. But these people that set up in these labs, they created these curriculum, and that's what it's for, right? This book right here, Life in Schools, this talks about that one day there will be scripted curriculum. And guess what's happening in schools? Scripted curriculum. This book was written... Hold, please. This book was written in 1998.
Wow.
Right? So this is not new. This new scripting situation, this is not new. The surveillance is new. That's what's new. The surveillance, and I won't be doing what I need to do without saying that sometimes the surveillance does come from your coach too.
Yes. Yes.
And I gotta own that part. I gotta own it because if you're being real with teachers, you gotta be real with yourself.
Yes.
But all this stuff, y'all, ain't new.
Mm-hmm. What do most people misunderstand about what it actually takes to work in public education every day?
That you're not there to save children, you're there to teach them. And also that these children are not something that needs help. Right. And notice I said something that needs help because a lot of people don't see them as human.
Mm-hmm.
This is not waiting for Superman. This is not save the day. This is not a cry to say that you've done something in your life. And sometimes that's how teachers show up. This is not that. Our children, especially our black and brown children, are resilient among measure. We have weathered so many storms by the time we age 5. We don't need anybody saving us. Because I didn't need nobody to save me. I need you to teach me. Because see, the problem is with these liberals is they don't want you to think, which is why we have a literacy epidemic. Because if you think that these people want you to be able to read, you done lost your mind.
Yes.
They didn't flip the script. They changed the game. Y'all out here marching for this, that, and the third. They done took literacy away from your babies.
Yeah.
And it is up to people like me and teachers that act like me to defend that literacy right, because contrary to popular belief, literacy is important because literacy equals thinking. Literally, literacy equals reasoning. Literacy equals development. Literacy equals systems breaking, because the systems of oppressions are only in because we can't read the papers. We can't read on them, so we don't know about them. We don't know about the books that we should read. We don't know about what our people actually did. I made a mistake and said that I think Martin Luther King wasn't a radical. And then my professor said, yo, you read this book? And I'm like, oh, my bad. I thought he was just let freedom ring. Nah, he was out here in the streets doing the thing.
Yes.
But you wouldn't know that. You just think that he's a great man on the February, whatever that date is, or in January, whatever that date is, and we celebrate him and we move on. But you don't realize this man was starting the whole thing, and Rustin was his homeboy, and Malcolm was his homeboy, and this and that. These are things that they don't want you to know about. Because if you read, you finna shake the system. And yes, I said finna.
Look. Well, I got a nice little emoji comment for you here that's in the chat. I'll put it on the screen for you.
Oh, come on. We love it.
So if you could go back and tell your first year teacher's self,
okay,
one thing, what would it be?
If I can go back to my first year teacher self, wow, that was, first of all, my first year teacher self was something else. I tell you, he was special. I got hired 2 days before school started, by the way. So my first year teacher self was a little disheveled. Straight out of college, frat boy. You said, what would I tell him or what would I do?
What would you tell him? What would you tell him?
I would tell him in 10 years, you are going to be a legend. Not an icon yet, but a legend.
Okay.
My name ring bells, and I'm not trying to be cocky or conceited, but people know me before I come in the room, and that is a blessing and a curse, but that is a blessing because people know who I am, so they know my work. One thing you can't say about Rodrick Johnson is that his work ain't done. You can say I did all the other things, and I might agree to it, but my work was done.
I think that's all that counts. All that other stuff is irrelevant. You get the job done, and that's what people need to understand.
You can say I've done all the things because I probably am the one spreading the rumor that I did the things. But what you're not going to say is that Rodrick Johnson did not come to work to get the job done.
Let's talk about your leadership, coaching, and the Energized Educator philosophy.
Yes.
What does Energized mean to you, and why did you name your company Energized Educator?
Okay, so Energized is so good, y'all. It's so good. Give me a minute. Okay, so obviously you can't see the energy from the screen because, right, like I'm boring. No, but energy is never lost, it's transferred. So what would happen if we transfer the energy that we have, or I have, to teachers so that they can infect that same energy to students? It's a transfer of understanding. Knowledge is energy. Energy is life. We need to speak life into our educators and children. And at Energized Educator, I'm going to read my mission statement because I wrote it. At Energized Educator, the mission is not only just to be here, but it's to raise literacy achievement, and change how urban children are perceived and supported in academic settings. Equipping schools with strong literacy instruction, which is important, and tools to manage behavior effectively while honoring students' unique identities and cultural backgrounds. So not only am I going to talk about literacy, but we're going to build environments where every child can thrive academically and personally. That's big. That's some big boy stuff. That ain't no little boy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Because it's important.
So tell us about the moment you knew it was time to build something of your own. When did you know that?
That's good. First of all, it's my business birthday, 5 years. And so 5 years ago, I built this thing. So I was working a summer program. I'll never forget it. I said, I need a business. I need a business. And I was just complaining because, you know, that's sometimes what we do. And so I'm complaining. She said, well, why don't you just go ahead and do it today? And I'm like, what you mean? She said, you got some money? I said, yeah, I got a couple dollars. She said, come on over here. And it was, again, another woman. She's like, come here. Go and put your money where your mouth is. And that day, I did not leave the office till 6 o'clock because I had to start my business on August 13th, 2021. Wow. And I knew it. And I had my first contract a couple months after that. And if you want me to talk about that, that's a funny story, but that's later on. But I knew it because I felt like I had so much more work to do. Like I was one person in one system doing one thing. It wasn't enough for me. My students told me, Mr. Johnson, like, I need to see you on billboards and blah, 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 blah. And yes, I have a billboard in Baltimore City.
Next time we up there visit my uncle, I'm gonna have to where's your billboard located?
That's a good question. I would have to show you the area because I never know how to get there. But it used to be all over, but like, you know, the wind and blew them down. But yeah, it's, you know, I'm a model. Okay. So if anybody, shout out if y'all need a model. Okay. I do a mean smiles. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me get back to it.
Started your company in 2021 and evolved into Energized Educator in 2024. What happened in those 3 years that shaped where you are today?
So I had to really understand what I wanted to do. So for entrepreneurs, this one's for you. When you start your entrepreneur journey, you can't just start by solving a problem. You got to do market research. And so I didn't do none of that. I started solving the problem, by the way. But when I realized that I needed to understand how to unpack what I wanted to do, that's when I started taking it seriously. And so I started doing market research, like, what would you want to see? What would you want to do? And then you also got to understand I'm a Black man in America, so some people don't know how to take that, right? And I'm a little quirky, so some people don't know how to take that. And so you have to know how you show up and how you move. And so when I started the Johnson Experience, because that was the original name, I was like, oh my God, people do not like the name because nobody's engaging. Nobody likes this. And so I got booked for a consultation and a conference. And it was great. Good time. I did some coaching, did some literacy work. That was great. But then there was nothing else. It was dry, like nothing. And so I realized like something is happening. So entrepreneurs, marketing is important and understanding your problem is important. And then I realized, what am I doing already? Oh, duh, I'm a literacy coach. Maybe I should talk about literacy. And oh, duh, I know how to make sure students behave the way they're supposed to behave and not in a way that's detrimental to their success. So wait a minute. Can I blend literacy and culture and behavior together? I sure can. And so after I did that, then I said, well, how can I support more children? And so I wrote a children's book that really matches and gives the identity to the same students that I'm teaching. And so doing all of those things created the energy in my business to kind of create the energy outside to where I can do interviews like this and still kind of unpack what I want to do. And as an entrepreneur, you're always evolving. So tomorrow I might have several more missions, but the mission is still the same. Make sure our children are perceived the way they need to be perceived, period. And teach them good literacy.
So what is your coaching philosophy at its core? How do you describe the way you work with educators?
So I teach them my teach method, and I'm pulling it up because y'all, I'm sorry, I'm a lesson plan teacher. What I'm going to do is going to look at my lesson plan. And so I teach them my teach framework. And so T is for target thinking, E is for engineer access, A is for active meaning, C is for connecting identity, and H is hold sustainably. So first of all, targeted thinking is more than an objective that you put on the board that you get marked off the sheet for. It is really identifying the cognitive work that students might have to do to engage with the content. Second, engineering access is that everybody has a different entry point in your classroom. Everybody does not enter the lesson at the same time in the same way, even though you think they do. Even in this interview, somebody is entering this interview and thinking something totally different than what I said out of my mouth. Brother King is thinking something totally different because we all have a different idea. But if you get an entry point, everybody can get in. For example, if I start singing YMCA, somebody that lived at that time is going to start singing it. Yeah. But a millennial might be like, what is that? So I might put on some Young Mook or whatever they listen to now. Activate meaning connecting to something. Again, students already know and feel because they need to know also what they care about. Current events do a lot of this work for you. Connecting identity. Of course, we know that the only identity in your room is not Black. Sorry. We know. You got some white people, you got some Latino, you got some Irish. I taught a girl that lived in Turkey during COVID, and she got online for class every single day because she got to show us around Turkey every day. It was so funny. She got on at different locations. It was absolutely phenomenal. But that's how you connect that identity. Her mother even wanted to come to class. And so hold it sustainably, just making sure you do it every day. It's a routine. It's every single day. And then you practice it and you get better. And that's how I coach my teachers. Now, I don't tell them I do this. I'm just telling y'all because y'all in my business. But I just do this live for teachers every day.
Oh, wow. So you talk about transferable energy. Yes. What does that mean in practice, and can it really be taught?
Now, energy can be taught. It can be transferred. So some people ain't got good energy, and that's I can't help that, right? All I can do is do my best to get you where you need to go. And that's one thing as a coach we don't talk about. You are going to lose as a coach. You have to. Football players get it. I don't know who else have coaches because I'm not in the sports, but you know what I'm trying to say. You are going to lose. You know, Lauryn Hill, you might win some, but you just lost one. It happens. And so I'm going to give you all the energy I have. I'm going to give you the knowledge, the peace, the love, the tranquility, the lessons, the thoughts, the understanding, enduring understandings, the patience, the time. I'm going to give you all of it. And if it don't hit you and you got your blockers on, then I'm sorry, but it's nothing I can do for you. And unfortunately, that's a reality, just like for our students. We're going to lose some students too.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little sad, but it's okay.
No, I know, but that actually, you know, I think once you let that sink in, you know, there's a lot to unpack with that. Because I think with a lot of people, you know, as you say, a lot of people think that everybody is going to think or maybe do the same thing. You know, this is what you say. This is the title, so this is what you're going to do. Yeah. But I think by knowing that people actually see things different, they interpret different, and they also react or act different. That's all about what they see and what they get. I think this is where not just the energy, I mean, so you can correct this, but I think it's not just what they see, but it's the energy. Yeah. What the teacher is giving them is how they actually can give this back to you. Yeah. The thing is, when they give it back to you, I guess maybe with it continuously being, you know, objective, you know, you have to know that, okay, well, yes, they understand or they don't understand. And you have to do a little bit more, I guess. Is that the way?
So energy is perception, right? Energy is the way you see things. Energy is the way you show up to things. And so if you don't put a lot of energy in it, then you don't want it, right? Again, I want it. I want you to be the best. So I'm going to come at you like, yeah, we got to do this, that, and third, because I want this for you. But if you don't want it for yourself, it's nothing I can do.
Right.
It's almost like I can't save you. I can't bring you back. I can't give you educational CPR. But those that I can, are some of the best teachers in the world because they understand that all you need is a little shift. No teacher is a bad teacher.
Mhm.
And notice I said teacher because, see, a lot of times we say educator, and I get that too, but a teacher is a teacher.
Right.
And they're going to teach you good. Right? And so, I call myself an educator too, but when I get in the classroom, I'm a teacher.
Mhm.
I'm an educator because I'm a coach. But if I'm in a classroom, I'm a teacher.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if anybody got that, but if you do your little Google search, Google what a teacher is.
Mhm. And so, how do you approach a school or district that is resistant to change? And what's your entry strategy?
I have to give you two answers because I'm still human. And so the first one is the professional answer. I try to find a midway. As a coach, you always got to find a midway because, again, you're dealing with teachers. You got to find an entry point and you got to engineer that access. Look at me, use my own framework, right? You got to engineer that access and an entry point and understand how to activate meaning with them. So there's always a way. You just got to find it. You got to do your homework. Look at their data. If their data and literacy looks a little iffy, then that's the conversation we got to have. If you show up to a school and their referrals supersede their attendance, then that's a conversation. Data is a universal language that will always supersede anything.
Right.
Professional answer. Rod answer.
Mhm.
If they are resistant, then there's usually an underlying condition with me that they're not saying. And so I never go where I don't belong.
I understand.
And as a consultant and researcher, I can do that.
Mhm.
Right? And that is just the human in me because I don't want to be tolerated. I don't. And I don't think anybody should live their life being tolerated because I show up in a way, I know how I show up. I know I show up as my full authentic self, as quirky and glamorous as ever. I might have on pink and you're going to see me. And sometimes that's too much for people. And that's okay. That's your business. Just know that you're not going to have the energized educator. You're going to have the less energized educator. That's going to sell you a pipe dream and ain't going to do what's best for children.
There you go.
And I stand on that.
So, what's the hardest part of coaching experienced teachers who have been doing things a certain way for 20 years? Because I know that's got to be a big thing.
It is if you let it. It's connection. Because also you have to validate what they've been through. Like they've been teaching for 20 years and I'm on year 11. Like, let's be clear. Let's go ahead and be clear now. 11 really teaching. I did a couple, years without, my job or whatnot. But 11 years. So I get it. There's an 8-year gap, right? That's almost like we talking about the American Revolution and I wasn't there. What am I supposed to say? Right? The red coats are coming. I don't even know if that's the right thing, but I'm just saying, right? And so you have to, first of all, establish some sort of connection, engineer access, and target the thinking. Friend, I'm not talking about how you teach. My goal is not to change how you teach. My goal is to get you to cognitively think about what's happening with those children when you teach. I don't care how you look. I don't care how you sound. I'm noticing that there's a decline in understanding. And that's the conversation we have to have. Because at the end of the day, you got 20, I got 11. That means we got a couple years and we can put our heads together and make some magic.
Right.
There's no resistance in making sure that our children have the cognitive ability to dispel the norms about them. So that's how I approach it. Now, again, you can also deny coaching. I don't know if people know that, but you can deny coaching. So if you got it like that and your data is giving what it needs to give and you are satisfied with what you have, then I'm going to back off. But if I see your data and I notice that our children don't have the opportunity to defend themselves against oppression, I have a problem with it.
I love the passion and these things that you speak of because, I think sometimes, when we talk about change and these people like for 20 years and so forth, for a lot of them, I guess, because of this technical age, it can be a little tough, to do that pivot.
Yeah.
But when you run across that resistance, because I'm sure you have,
Yeah.
when you run across that resistance, Like, how do you actually tread that fine line, to get them to come over into the new age? Because I'm sure you're able to do that.
I don't tread the line. I just say what I need to say. Like, it is what it is. Like, hey, here, this is not working, right? And I'm sorry, but I can only. It's not working. Obviously, little Johnny has been on the same grade level since he started in your class. Sis, brother, we got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. You want the help or not? Because if you want the help, I can help you. But if you don't want the help, you know what's going to happen. The principal going to have a conversation with you. So which one you want? You want the soft or you want the not so soft? What do you want? Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but I got to be that way because it's about children. It ain't about you. I don't care about your years and experience if children are at risk. I don't care. Just like you don't care if I don't grow. Right? Martin said, when I blow up, you blow up, right? And that's my goal. I don't want the credit for changing the narrative. I don't want the credit for moving your teachability. I just want our children to be able to defend themselves against oppression. And the best way to do it, and the best indicator for them to do it, is reading. I don't want to hear about the teacher pipeline. I don't want to hear about the teachers not coming to work. I don't want to hear about the prison pipeline. I don't want to hear about their special ed. I don't want to hear about the labels. I just want to know how you teaching them and how you moving them forward. Mm-hmm. Period. And if you're 20 years and you got some skin in the game, then I want to know, why is it that you're not doing what's best for children?
Right.
Sorry. And that's the hard part of culture too. Sometimes you gotta go in there with your guards up, and they might fuss at you the first day, but if you come around long enough and knock on that door, they eventually be like, all right, bro, come on in and tell me what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Because I'm persistent, right? I'm going to knock on your door every single day. You don't want coaching? I'm going to knock on your door every single day and get on your nerves. Not in a way where I'm observing, but I'm going to say, hey, you good? I'm just checking on you. Okay, cool. And then one day you're going to be like, yo, why is he checking on me every time? Why is he so concerned about my well-being and support? Oh, wait, he actually wants to help. Let me see what I can do. And then eventually we start talking and we form a connection.
Let's talk about the 3R method: respect, reflect, and re-engage.
Let's do it.
Down for our audience, what exactly is the 3R method?
All right. I got to get my slides up because y'all not going to talk about me. Okay, so first of all, there are so many students that are trying to communicate that they need support. And we label them as behavior problems as opposed to digging deep down in the iceberg to see what they need. Like, anybody remember Titanic out there? Okay. Not the Celine Dion song. I'm talking about the actual movie. Right. It was a good song. Right. But we realized that our students need support. And so the biggest myth about respect is that respect is automatic if you have authority, or that all students understand respect in the same way. And the biggest myth of them all, this is the big one: discipline equals respect. But the truth is that respect is built through consistency, empathy, and understanding. Also, respect is a reciprocal relationship, and it fosters a sense of safety. Reflection. The biggest myth is that self-reflection is automatic for students. Reflection is just about fixing mistakes, and reflection only happens in isolation. But the truth is that reflection is a learned skill. And effective reflection not only helps students correct mistakes, but it also helps them talk about the classroom culture. And it should be integrated in the classroom culture. And then re-engage. Biggest myth of that is students who disengage are lazy and unmotivated. And we know what that usually means. And we know who usually gets that tag. I'm going to just pause for some drama. Another myth is success comes from sticking to the same approach. And the last myth is re-engaging students mean lowering expectation. I'm going to pause for drama again. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that re-engagement happens when students feel supported. Flexibility and resistance are key, and high expectations paired with proper support actually inspires students. And you can't do it without these three, because if you do it without respect, the classroom becomes tense and hostile. If you do it without reflection, students miss the opportunity to learn from their actions. And if you don't re-engage, students remain disconnected from their learning. 3R method.
Mm. So, why respect, reflect, and re-engage? Why those three words specifically?
Because a lot of people think behavior management should focus on academics and not culture and identity. But by implementing the 3R method, teachers are transforming the classroom atmosphere. It's no longer becoming a thing to do. It's no longer becoming a thing in isolation. It not only addresses the behavior challenges, but fosters community, which is what school was all about. Mm-hmm. And it's not about breaking children down to do what you want them to do. It's about allowing them to see that things happen. I just talked to a young man, and he's teaching his children in sixth grade, how to look at policy. This is how he's doing behavior modification in his classroom. He is going to expose them to a policy as they enter the classroom and ask them questions about the policy. They're going to break down the policy. They're going to talk about the policy, and then they're going to create a classroom handbook.
Oh,
so
wow.
they not only understand how to behave in class, but they understand their civic duty in the system. That's the 3R method right there.
Wow.
That's
And so it sounds like then this is like encompassing, which allows the cultural aspect to be more than just a major part of this, but also what the new age influence is going to look like.
Yes, because we're in a YouTube generation. These children learn they have access to so much information, and you about to just tell them sit for 7 hours and be quiet. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I can't even sit. And I'm a teacher, educator. I can't even sit 7 hours in PD. No, you better get up, and I'm not getting around, and I'm not telling you my why, and I'm not doing a gallery walk, and I'm not doing it, right? But if you do a system where we all have to engage and it's a norm that we practice and we see each other, that's a different conversation.
So how did this framework come to life? Was there a specific moment or student that inspired it?
It really came in a dream. And I thought about my students. There was some students that actually came to mind. First of all, it was me, right? Little Joey. That's number one. But then I think about Jock, who was one of my amazing students. Jaden, who was one of my students. Isaiah, one of my students. Oh God, the list goes on and on. But all of these students changed their behavior when they found community. Adverse childhood effects are real, friends. And sometimes our students are telling you things without telling you. I remember one student said, I act out because every other teacher hated me, and I'm trying to figure out why you don't. And I'm like, and then another one said, well, Mr. Johnson, I can't show you love because everybody I love dies.
Oh.
So these children are saying real stuff, but you would never get to under that iceberg if you don't show them community. And we so busy trying to control the classroom and having behavior management that we don't even realize that we're teaching humans. And they're mimicking our actions because I let them play school one day. And I asked them to mimic some of the teachers in the building. And they mimicked all the other teachers, and all of them were negative, yelling and screaming. Then they got to me. And it was so embarrassing. And it was like, sit down, I want to talk to you. Because why are you acting like this? What is happening? How can I help you? I said, oh my God, these babies. Why? Oh my God. But it's so interesting when children show you yourself. And so when I saw it, I'm like, yo, I'm really. And they, you know what they say? Mr. Johnson, I would rather you yell at me than give me a lecture. Oh no, you getting a lecture because Mr. Joe Clark don't play. You getting a lecture. And I will lecture them down. I mean, as you can tell, I've been talking for almost 70 minutes. You're going to get a lecture. But my lecture is, you can do what you think you can do. We just got to find out how to do it in a way that's conducive to the environment. I know what you want to do. I know you want to get up and move. So how about this? I put the desk in a circle, and when you feel like you need to get up, just get up and walk around the classroom. Don't bother me none. We used to call it a superhero lab. And when I felt like you was going off, I'd be like, hey, get up and do a superhero lab. And they would do it. Another child, ADHD, he needed something to do. while I'm teaching, I know you're listening. While I'm teaching, I need you to build a Lego statue of whatever I'm teaching. You would be surprised at what that young man was able to build with Legos. Now they got all these Lego things. This was before that. Them little handshakes that everybody doing, Ben did that. Was on that before. All of that. That's community.
So how does the 3R method differ from traditional behavior management approaches that schools have used for decades?
A lot of them are punitive. Like that behavior ladder that put them children names on a paper clip, and when they do something wrong, they move them down the ladder so that everybody can publicly shame them. I know I did it. And then I realized why I got hell in my room because I done moved the clip. And in your mind, you like, all I did was move a clip. No, to that student, you done tore their whole life up. Because now they know once they get to a certain level, that's a phone call. Because all you said was rewards and consequences. That's all you get. Rewards, consequences. Rewards, consequences. In my class, when we had natural consequences, we didn't even have all that. You're going to get rewarded because you showed up to school, period. But just know the natural consequence is that sometimes you can't get everything. And so this is the piece I want to talk about with educators because we do it all the time. One consequence is enough. I know educators that give 4. For example, oh, he was disrespectful, so I'm taking his recess. I'm taking his resource. I'm taking him from the trip. I'm taking him from the blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So now that student don't go to shake and bake because he didn't have a pencil that day or he didn't eat and he said something that wasn't favorable to you. You that hurt as an adult? He can't come in my room. So where he gonna go? What he gonna do? Where else would he learn what you got to give him? You're the adult, so act like it. But a lot of us don't act like it. And I fight with people all the time about it. You think a child should get the same respect as another adult? Yes. Yes. Jesus said, let the children come. All right, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm done.
So tell me, along with the 3R system that you have, does restorative justice play a part of that?
Yes. So when I first started, I did 40 hours of restorative justice. I would have got the certificate, but I was just trying to learn how to teach that year. If I did a master's in it, but I got what is equivalent to, I guess, a master's because we did 40 hours of training. So like I'm really trained in restorative justice and restorative practice. I also just finished training today to be a first aid mental health person. So I'm once I take the test, I'll be certified in mental health first aid. So all that is baked in. And I have de-escalating training. So all of those are in that method, but I had to make it very simple for people to follow because when you make it all over the place, then some things get lost in translation.
What does culturally responsive behavior management mean? And why does it matter, especially in majority Black and brown schools?
You talking good. You talking good here. Culturally relevant. What is the cultural relevant? I'm thinking cultural relevant pedagogy. Lord, I'm about to go into a whole tangent. But discipline is basically understanding that everybody's culture is different. Everybody's entry point is different. For example, the child that doesn't look at you in your face. Well, maybe in their culture, they don't look at people in their face. Or maybe that young child that did that to you does that at home. And he doesn't or she doesn't understand that that's not acceptable in this space. But we don't do that. We say, well, if you are my child, you are blah, blah, blah. Well, they're not your child then. I mean, I'm sorry, but you're supposed to teach them. So if it's not suitable for the space, then talk about why it's not suitable for the space and teach your child how to act.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about curriculum, literacy, and professional development.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about it.
You've been a literacy coach. Why is literacy still such a critical background in education, especially for Black students?
Literacy is civil rights. Period. Is this thing on? Y'all hear me? No, seriously, literacy is civil rights. Period. If y'all take that however y'all want to do it, if y'all go to my Instagram, y'all see my whole thing on it. But I said what I said.
As a Great Minds Fellow, you helped implement curriculum reforms nationwide. What did that experience reveal about how our schools really function?
Yes. So I remember I told you I couldn't learn the curriculum, like I didn't know it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was the company that taught me. So they released a curriculum, and I was like, "Well, I don't know what it is." And then they had a fellowship, and so I did it. And the fellowship consequently made you an expert in the curriculum. Who knew? And so not only did I become an expert in curriculum, but I got to help teachers all over the world during COVID how to implement this curriculum for our children. And I was in like 2 cities a day. Like I was rolling. And I got to see how different educators actually approach children. It is so interesting how some people were relentless to say, oh no, my child learning this. But then there was some that say, oh, my child would never learn this because they can't do it. And so it shows just the like disparities of how people actually show up for children every day. And that was crazy. If you would have saw it, you would have actually cried. But I learned the curriculum and I brought all that learning back to the teachers I coach in Baltimore City.
I have uh, a comment here,
Uh-oh. I'm scared.
question here, and I'll put this on the screen for you to answer this question. They want you to elaborate.
On what? That was 8 minutes ago. I don't know what they want me to elaborate. Oh no, I'm nervous.
This was back when we started talking about the curriculum, the literacy, and the professional development.
Oh, education. I mean, literacy and civil rights. Is that what they wanted me to talk about?
Yes, I want you to elaborate.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to. So, literacy is the great equalizer, in my opinion. And it also allows children to be able to reason. I said a little earlier, but it allows children to reason and develop the concept around how to defend themselves against oppression. If they're able to read, they're able to create arguments and construct ways of knowledge that you don't get if you can't read. For example, when you read a book, there's a mental image in your mind of that book that allows you to create. And once you start to creating, you can continue to create. And so the civil rights piece is access. You get access to different things if you know how to read. If you know how to read a contract, therefore you would actually use the contract. If you know how to read some sort of book, therefore you might eventually write books. And so the civil rights piece is access. I hope
Yeah,
that was good. Y'all need any more?
um, no, but I think for those that that probably don't quite understand, I'm gonna say the reasoning of explaining and wanting to make sure that our children learn a whole lot more. A lot of those folk, have a tendency to see just one lens one way
That's
and
right.
not the whole picture.
That's
So
right.
sometimes they can have a few issues sometimes.
But see, that's the energy I was talking about.
Right. And see, like this, the person that you just answered that question for just said, "Gotcha."
Thank you, my friend. I love the
Yeah.
black emoji too, by the way. Just sorry. I'm black, y'all.
So, what happens when the curriculum changes and teachers are left behind? Who pays the price?
Students.
Can you tell
Sorry.
us why?
Um Teachers, we have a lot to do and a little bit of time to do it. And so the neoliberal part of teaching in the scripted curriculum. Sorry, I'm just gonna bring my books in. Just flash it on the screen for you all, just so you got them. What happens is the curriculum company needs to make more money, so they go and find out what you're missing, and they fill the holes. Now, they fill it with high quality curriculum. What is high quality curriculum? Whatever matrix these people have come up with to say it's high quality, evidence based, research based, blah, 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 blah. Then they give it to teachers 2 days, 2 weeks before school starts, and we are supposed to teach it. Then you give it to instructional coaches, and we help you with that instruction. The problem is that teachers seldom create this curriculum. So when we seldom create the curriculum, there are a lot of nuances that are embedded inside of it and instructional strategies that are out of our purview that we have to relearn because the surveiller is making sure that we teach said curriculum because they paid for it. So who do this? The student.
Yeah, right. And so like there's like comments going back and forth in the chat where again, I told you some people see things the wrong way. And like for instance, there's I refuse to put the craziness on the screen,
Okay.
but there is this particular situation here where this person is actually talking to the individual. I said, I won't put this stuff on the screen. It's actually inferring to them and letting them know that you're teaching all students, but they're actually saying that, that it's just you're teaching to Black people.
Well, I just want to clarify that I work in a district with mostly Black students. So what am I supposed to say?
Well, but again, it's that when we talk about what's real, that's the problem.
Thank you, Auntie.
And so, so again,
I can't wait to read the comments after this.
Okay, it's just correction is only a problem when accountability is lacking.
Come on now. See, I knew my people was gonna show up. See, y'all think I came alone. Did not. Did not. Won't ever come alone because I know how people show up.
Yeah. And so, I just think that, again, when it just comes down to it, which is why, we're unapologetic as to when we talk about what we talk about on this show is going to, and, these are, I guess maybe these are some hard things for a lot of people to swallow and digest, because when you start speaking that real truth, it hurts because it hits hard because it's true.
But let me ask you a question. Is it wrong teaching all Black kids?
No, it's not.
Because that's what I want to know. For that person in the comments, I want you to answer this. Is it wrong teaching all Black kids? Because if it's so wrong or if it's not wrong, I want you to tell me why. Because I think it's important that we have these guys. And this is how I approach teachers, by the way. Like, I ask them questions to understand because, yes, I get what you're saying. And we're going to get back to the interview. But I just want to understand what you want to unpack and what kind of response you want from this. Because it doesn't sound like you're getting the response you wanted. So that's it. I'm going to leave it alone. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the exact thing. And so, again, it's good that they're getting this education that you're putting out there because what you're talking about is real thing. So that's the whole premise.
Yes, we love that. And I can't wait to get to my phone after this. I'm not going to respond, but I can't wait to see. It's going to be good.
You facilitated over 1,500 hours of professional development. What is the most powerful PD session you've ever delivered, and what made it land?
Oh, I have to talk about it. This person gonna be mad at me, but I had to talk about it. So I attend the State of Black Learning every year in Pittsburgh, and I love it because it's just a Black time. And so we go up there and talk about how to teach our children the best. So I did my session on teacher curriculum, which was a post that got 1 million views last year. And it was so good, so monumental, but I really wanted to know what teachers actually thought about it because the same kind of thing that's happening in the chat is the same thing happened there. And so I allowed them to really deconstruct the notion of teacher curriculum, and I really allowed them to live debate with me about what I did right and what I did wrong. And it was so powerful to have educators in the room to say, yo, I hear you and I support you, but I can't stand behind this part. But I'm good with this part. But maybe we need to talk more a bit about that. I'm not going to give y'all the thing because I had to be there. But like it was of course I taught. Don't get me wrong. I gave them something new, but it really made me think of like, is this teach framework good? And so once I explained them to the framework, they're like, oh yeah, I can get behind that part. But that teacher curriculum stuff you was talking about, I don't know about all that. Now I wrote a whole book about it. And so afterwards, I offered them to say, okay, I wrote a book about it. And what we actually talk about in the workshop is what I actually put in the book. And they were like, okay, wait a minute. I got to get behind it and I got to buy this book. So that was my best workshop. I am starting to teach that everywhere and I love it.
You design professional development that actually sticks,
Yes.
not just a one-day workshop that
Yes.
teachers forget on Monday.
Yes. It's practical and you're going to plan. It ain't me teaching for an hour. If it's an hour, I'm talking for 20 minutes and we're working for the rest. We're planning and turnkeying it on Monday. Yes. That's my philosophy. I'm not doing no presentation. We're going to work.
Well, let's talk about Black excellence, identity, and community in education.
Great. We love a Black excellence.
So, what does it mean to you to be a Black educator, a Black man leading a coaching company in America today?
It means being a disruptor. I love a good disruptor. I love a good drama that comes around it, because when you disrupt something and you irritate a system, that means you're changing it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm the only Black male literacy coach in Baltimore City Public Schools, and that is a problem for me. There are no other Black male educators that are literacy coaches, and that is concerning. But I know that I'm disrupting a system because our literacy data is improving.
Well, look, I don't know if I need to put this on the screen or not.
Put it up there.
But I want to show you this, because this, I'm not sure exactly how to take this. This person says that it is threatening when an educated Black man or sister speak or walks into a room.
It is. It is. It's a disruption, because you know what it is? They want us to come in the room timid. I don't come in rooms timid.
Mm-hmm.
I know I belong here, and my check cleared, so I'm here. it just is what it is.
Right.
But as you can see, people try to oppress you and silence you, and some people just can't be silenced.
Right.
Those times are over.
Yes.
And even if I am silenced, I'm going to get up and talk again. Like Maya Angelou says, still I rise. That's a real thing with Black people.
Well,
Those that don't know.
Well, see, that's why you don't have to worry about that, because there are allies that continue to support you regardless of the case.
Well,
so that'll never happen.
I pulled up with my people. I knew what was going to happen tonight. I pulled up with my people. And if nobody going to shut it down, my auntie going to shut it down. Shout out to her.
Do you believe the American education system was built to serve Black children or built to manage them? Explain that, please.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think the American education system wasn't built to teach anybody.
Mm.
It was to create workers, right? Those people got together and was like, yo, what can I do to get more workers in factories? Oh, I know what I can do. Do public school. That'll work, because these Black people in these churches are producing some of the most amazing people. We can't keep up. If you want to talk about it, because the Black school system was invented before the American school system.
Well, you know what? Can you please educate the folk that
anybody want it
now about what happened when we started Reconstruction and who was running the country and built this foundation that they have taken?
See, people don't want to have that conversation, because we was teaching in the church house. Here, let me be clear. We was teaching in the church house, and let me also say that the first doctorate came from Timbuktu. Okay, that's in Africa. You understand? So all of these European systems or non-colored systems, we invented it.
Yes.
And there was no class. There was no age range. There was no grade. You moved on when it was time for you to move on. There was no intervention. There was no retention. You got where you needed to go in that one room shack, because that's all you gave us. And we taught till our faces was blue. And the next day, you got it again. And you're going to learn something. And you graduated and you went on to college and you never stopped. You kept going. In Timbuktu, how did you get a doctorate? You went in the library, wait a minute, reading. And once you finished reading and knew all you need to do, you went in front of a review board and they put that can't remember what it's called, but they put it on your head and you were a doctor. But now, well, we got classes and all this such and research papers and such. They had to do that back in Timbuktu. That ain't how they do that. And that's okay, you know. Yeah. So it wasn't made to teach Black children. It was actually dismantle the system. And if you really want to know, and you think I got this from anywhere, you can read Jim Crow's Pink Slip. to where they talk about where they talk about how the education system changed and they created a teacher assessment. And the teacher assessment actually knocked Black people out of becoming teachers.
Yes, and that right there is why when you mentioned earlier about the small number of the entire system being Black, is
That's
why
right.
it's that way. It's because when the system was created and it was working, it was doing what it was doing. When what happened
Yeah.
transformed everything, and so now you got what they got now, but it was made to keep it that way because
Yeah.
the results come from people like yourself, and
That's right.
each and every last one of these great professionals that have been here that's in education
That's
have
right.
got nothing but results, nothing but results.
And
And
we're
it's the results that
unapologetically Black.
yes, and it's the results that are threatening.
And that's okay, you know.
How do Black students experience the school system differently? And what responsibility do schools have to acknowledge and address that difference?
Mm. Labels. I'm gonna stick with labels. Label. They get labeled as soon as they walk in. That's it. And I can't go too deep because I only got a few minutes left. But I'm just gonna say Black children are consistently labeled and are consistently um motivated to underperform. Why? Because if they underperform, then I can buy more interventions and I can do better things to make sure that I make more money off of children.
Oh Lord, this is crazy. Let me put this on the screen for you. You know,
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. I told you my arm was gonna pull up. She got yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh, if y'all this is y'all read this? Get into that.
and I know you said you weren't going to talk about God so much, but there's this person here actually wants to talk about God here.
Wait, after your parents created you, how did you pick your favorite god made up by humans? I don't think I said anything about that. After your parents created you, how did you pick your favorite god made up by humans? I don't understand that. Are you saying my
Mhm.
reference to Jesus? I didn't say I let me just make sure. I didn't say favor or nothing. I said I modeled my life after Jesus. I didn't even say I worshiped him. I didn't say none of those things. So I'm not
Mm.
sure where they came from. But I like that comment. That was a good question. And that's something for me to think about as I transition from this interview. That's really good. Thank you for that
Uh,
question.
I think, again, I think from a philosophical perspective, sometimes people think of things only based on their lived experience and how
Yeah.
they see things.
Yeah, and that is a debate right now, though. To be honest, I just watched it a whole hour of people arguing with somebody that doesn't believe in Christianity, and that's okay. We all have different beliefs, but it's all right.
You talk about cultural responsive practice. What
Yes.
does that actually look like in a school where Black and Brown students are the majority?
Just honor who's in the room. Ask who's in the room. Ask what they celebrate. Ask what they do. Be inclusive of all religions.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, that was my bad. All spaces, all walks of life, how everybody comes from, because you're not the only person in the room. They're in the room with you.
Right. So let's move over and let's talk here in this final stanza here about vision, entrepreneurship, and the road ahead for you.
Okay.
What is the 5-year vision for Energized Educator? Where are you taking this company?
Yes, we're year 5. I plan on hiring me a CEO in 2 years. Like, I love it. It's great, but I want somebody to take the mantle because I believe in passing it down. I do plan on publishing books about education. I do plan on coaching and consultant more. And I just established a nationwide PLC where teachers can get together and plan lessons that are culturally appropriate and relevant. So that is where we are. And in the next 5 years, I plan to have so many teachers under me that can pull up to interviews like this and do what needs to be done.
What's the scariest part of leaving institutional work to build something on your own?
Being on an island by yourself. and not realizing that there are people out here doing the same work you're doing and you can partner with them. Also, the mindset of there's competition out here. Millionaires don't compete, they collaborate. And I didn't know that until I got next to them.
Mm-hmm. How do you balance being a practitioner, someone who still gets in the trenches, with being a CEO who has to think strategically?
I don't think I balance it. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't know. I really don't know. I just do it. And I probably because this is how I grew up, so I just do it. And it just is what it is. I don't have a cute answer for that one. Sorry. What we got? These comments are great. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where's the lie? But also, that wasn't the context.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't the context. But I mean, you know, again, speak your truth, friend. I'm not mad at you for saying that. That's your business. That's your business. All books will be destroyed, then humanity is set free. Now, let me just say this. Friend, I'm gonna say what you want to say. Sometimes religion is a set of rules that try to keep society in order. Not gonna knock you for saying that. But your other claim, what I would suggest you to do is to provide context to the claim and also add viewpoints for us to understand what you want to say. But just saying that information is unclear, which is what I try to tell teachers and children to do. You want to make sure you get your point clearly across so that nobody has to assume. But I thank you for your comment. It's great. We love it. Because guess what? We're getting some interaction credit. We're here for that.
And so, wait,
But see, you're saying it's still no context. Like, how does it destroy humanity? What is happening?
You know, let me.
This is why I'm be talking about religion, because see, people who take my one little thing I said about God and y'all making it a whole thing, and we ain't even here for that.
What's success look like for Energized Educator? Is it revenue, reach, impact, or all three?
Impact. I don't do anything for money. Now, don't get me wrong. You got to pay me, but yes. I don't do anything for money because it's not about that. I'm saving lives out here.
See, that's, you know what? That's why you're here on American Black and White, because that is the whole premise. You know, I know, you know, we can't control people and how some people see that way, because there's a lot of people say, oh, I got to get that money. I got to get that bag. You know, but
there's a time and place for that, and there's people that you charge that bag to. But yeah. I'm chasing results, and see, a lot of times I get kicked out of circles because I say that. No, you got to get this money, and that money, it's going to come because I have faith. I'm not going to say religion. I have faith that it's going to come. And every time I have faith of a mustard seed, just is what it is.
Who are the mentors, coaches, or figures in your life who have poured into you the same way you pour into others?
I got a lot of them. My auntie is one of them, who is holding it down in the comments. Teachers that I supported and now support me. My chair, my dissertation chair, program coordinators. Yeah, it's a lot of people that I don't want to name anybody because I'm going to forget names, but y'all know who y'all are. I'm sorry that I don't want to name y'all, because if I don't get y'all on the list, y'all gonna be like, excuse me, where was mine? But that's it. That's all y'all getting tonight. Okay. Y'all can't see Malcolm and them up there. Let me see if y'all can see him. Y'all see my 4 guys up there. You can't see Malcolm, but he up there, and Martin up there too. And Mandela and Marley.
So, final question for you. Rodrick, in the spirit of America in Black and White, what does Black excellence mean to you?
It means me.
There you go.
I'm disrupting systems, as you can see.
So if So, as we are getting ready to leave now, what are your, do you have any words of wisdom and encouragement for our audience? Tell them how to connect with you via your website, your social media, how to
Yep.
buy the books, all of those good things.
Okay, so my website is updated, so I can say it now. Follow me, first of all, on Instagram at Energized Educator. That's Instagram. On LinkedIn, I'm Rodrick Johnson. My website is www.energizededucator.com. If you get on the website, it's going to be a prompt for you to join the Nationwide PLC. Also, there's a link to my book on the website. Also, if you go to the top right, there's a link to my children's book. Media is on the site, so more than likely this interview will be on the site. And yes, connect with me, DM me. And then once you go to the website and you want to contact me, there's a way to contact me as well. If you want to get my book, it's on the site too. I think I said that. Something else. Oh, words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Keep going, keep striving. Even if it don't look good, go in the room anyway, because you might not know how you can change the room.
And so I want to get you to stick around for a little bit. I'm going to close the show here. For those of you that have been with us tonight, especially from the beginning to now, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you always for your support. For those of you that are on any of our any of our YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I ask if you will please support us by doing so. And it would allow you to get the notifications when the shows are going live, as well as you have the opportunity to go back and get the great information that each and every professional that has been here has left for each individual to not only learn from, but to help to build, connect, and expand the community in which you are in. So I'm going to close with this closing monologue because I definitely need a moment. Because what we just experienced tonight, what Rodrick C. Johnson just brought into this space, this is exactly why we built America in Black and White. This is exactly why we show up every single week for conversations like this, for people like this, for truth like this. Rodrick, I want to say something to you directly, and I want our audience to hear it. What you're doing matters. What you're building matters. You're walking into schools, into buildings, into rooms full of people who are tired and stretched thin, and you're handing them something nobody gave them in their training. You're handing them belief. You're handing them method. You're handing them energy. And I want every person watching tonight to understand the ripple effect of that work. The teacher that Rodrick coaches, who then goes and shows up differently for 30 kids, who then grow up believing they matter, that ripple reaches further than any of us can see right now. That is legacy work, and Rodrick C. Johnson is doing it. To our audience, Black and white, and everything in between, I want you to close. I want to close with this. Education is not a privilege, it is a civil right. Thurgood Marshall spent his entire life fighting to make sure that every child, regardless of race, regardless of zip code, regardless of economics, had the legal right to walk into a schoolhouse and be educated. He won that fight in a courtroom. Rodrick Johnson is winning it in the classroom. And we're winning it right here, one episode, one conversation, one truth at a time. We're not just a show, we are a movement. America in Black and White exists because these conversations deserve a platform. Your stories deserve to be told, your excellence deserves to be celebrated, and your challenges deserve to be named, examined, and addressed without apology. So to our guest tonight, Rodrick C. Johnson, thank you. God bless you. Keep going. And to everyone who tuned in tonight, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing truth. Thank you for choosing culture. Thank you for choosing Black excellence. Hit that like button, share this episode, subscribe, because The next show, we do it all again. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King. This has been season 4, episode 127 of America in Black and White. Good night, God bless, and never forget, we are great. We have always been great, and we are just getting started.